Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. It's honestly fascinating how the human brain acts exactly like a biological computer, one that, let's be real, occasionally fails to cleanly shut down or boot up. We spend a full third of our lives asleep, but that transition between consciousness and unconsciousness, it is rarely seamless. So, we're going to explore the system glitches, the lag, and the downright terrifying errors your brain makes when the lights go out. Think back to a time when you were perfectly comfortable. You're drifting off, everything is quiet, and then bam! Your entire body slams awake, like you literally just missed a step on a staircase. It's startling, it's jarring, and it completely ruins that peaceful drift into sleep. If that sounds familiar, well, you definitely aren't alone. Around 70% of us experience these so-called hypnic jerks. What's actually happening here is a massive miscommunication. As you fall asleep, your muscles begin to relax, but your brain, which is also powering down, misreads that sudden loss of muscle tone as you physically falling. So what does it do? It fires a massive jolt of electricity through your body to catch you. It's a completely unnecessary emergency response. Some researchers actually believe this is an evolutionary leftover from when our ancestors slept in trees, where a sudden drop in muscle tension meant you were in mortal danger. Your bed is safely on the ground, but your brain just didn't get the memo. And things like stress, caffeine, and an overstimulated system, they just make these misfires way more common. So, let's look at phase 1, system shutdown errors. This is what goes wrong when an overstimulated, stressed, or caffeine-fueled brain makes some serious mistakes while actively trying to power down. During this shutdown phase, you can hit two totally different yet equally messy transition glitches. First up, hypnagogic hallucinations. This is basically when dream signals bleed right into wakefulness. You aren't fully asleep yet, but you might see geometric patterns, faces, or even hear your name called. About 70% of people get these, and they happen because your conscious mind is still partially online while the dreaming circuitry starts booting up. On the flip side, we have exploding head syndrome. Now, I know that sounds absolutely terrifying, but it affects about 10% of people and is completely harmless. Instead of a gradual, peaceful fade to quiet, your auditory neurons misfire and discharge all at once. Your brain interprets this simultaneous firing as a massive internal bang, like a gunshot or a cymbal crash right inside your skull, jolting you awake with a pounding heart, even though the room is perfectly silent. Moving deeper into the night brings us to phase 2, background processing malfunctions. This is where your internal system gets stuck partway out of deep sleep or, accidentally leaves the communication microphone turned on. It turns out an incredible 66% of people will sleep talk at some point. But hey, if you're worried about confessing your deepest, darkest secrets, don't sweat it. The brain isn't running a conscious monologue here. What you're actually hearing are just meaningless verbal fragments from partially active neural networks. It's basically just your brain leaving its microphone on during lighter sleep stages or garbling out emotionally flat sounds during deep sleep. So no, you can almost never extract real, reliable information from a sleep talker. Now, looking at night terrors, sleepwalking, and confusional arousals, there's a really fascinating common denominator. The motor system is active, but consciousness is completely switched off. During a night terror, someone can sit up, screaming, crying, and hit a heart rate of 180 beats per minute. But they are essentially entirely unconscious. You can't even comfort them because they aren't fully there. Similarly, sleepwalking involves purposeful-looking movement, like navigating a house or, crazy enough, even driving, with zero awareness. They aren't acting out dreams. That happens in REM sleep. This is deep, slow-wave sleep where the brain just gets stuck halfway between sleeping and waking. And the wild part about all three of these glitches, the person will wake up the next morning with absolutely zero memory of the event. Briefly, let's touch on the physical interrupters. Nocturnal leg cramps are those sudden, absolutely agonizing calf muscle seizes that practically force you to wake up and stretch. Myoclonus, on the other hand, is repeated, rhythmic twitching across a limb or even your whole body. Both of these annoying physical glitches constantly interrupt your sleep architecture, meaning the movement constantly pulls you into lighter stages of sleep. You can actually have dozens of these events per night and wake up completely unrested, blaming your mattress, without having any idea that your own body was waking itself up all night long. Then there is phase 3, terrifying boot-up failures. This is that terrifying system lag that occurs when the brain wakes up, but the body or the reality-checking systems do not. Imagine waking up and you absolutely cannot move. Not stiff, not groggy, completely paralyzed. This is sleep paralysis. The key to understanding this lies in normal REM sleep, where a built-in mechanism called REM atonia paralyzes your muscles so you don't act out your dreams. But for the 20% of people who experience sleep paralysis, consciousness returns before the body gets the signal to unlock. You are fully awake, but paralyzed. Panicking, the confused brain concludes something external must be causing the paralysis and immediately activates its threat detection system. This generates a hallucinated presence in the room, what cultures throughout history have called the old hag, the incubus, or the shadow person. It is totally harmless and ends on its own, but in the moment, it is pure neurological terror. Now, unlike the pre-sleep glitches we just looked at, hypnopompic hallucinations happen as you wake up from REM sleep. And these are clinically terrifying. Why? Because your reality checking systems are still entirely offline as you transition back to wakefulness. The dreaming circuitry hasn't shut off yet, so dream content bleeds directly into your bedroom. You might see a huge spider on the wall or a shadowy figure standing in the room. And it is visually and sensorily indistinguishable from reality in that exact moment. You're conscious enough to be terrified, but your brain can't logic its way out of it until it fully boots up a few seconds later. Even more disorienting? The false awakening. You wake up, get out of bed, walk to the bathroom, start brushing your teeth, and then, wait, you wake up again. The unsettling unreliability of false awakenings happens because REM sleep runs such a highly convincing simulation of waking up that you can literally get trapped in a loop of fake mornings. Your brain mimics waking consciousness so flawlessly, you have literally no idea you're still asleep. That is, until the system forces a hard reboot. Because waking up is not an instant process. When your alarm goes off, your cerebral blood flow is low, and adenosine, that's the chemical that drives sleepiness, hasn't cleared yet. And most importantly, your prefrontal cortex, the part that handles rational thought, is literally the very last region to boot up. We call this sleep inertia. Normally, it takes 15 to 30 minutes for normal cognitive clearance. But if you are forced awake from deep sleep, this lag can last up to 4 hours. This explains why pilots have actually crashed planes when woken mid-flight, and why you make absolutely terrible decisions right after your alarm goes off. You aren't fully you yet. Your brain is still technically asleep. Which brings us to phase 4, system overload and crashes. We're talking about the truly dangerous consequences of pushing your biological system way too far through sleep deprivation. 17 hours. Honestly, that's really just a slightly long day. But studies show that after just 17 hours of being awake, you can begin experiencing microsleeps. These are involuntary 2 to 30-second blackouts where consciousness simply vanishes. Your eyes might be open, you might be sitting completely upright, but your brain fully enters a sleep stage. And the scary part? You cannot detect your own microsleeps. You are completely unaware of the gap in time, which makes this specific system crash responsible for catastrophic driving and industrial accidents. Another bizarre consequence of sleep deprivation is REM rebound. When your REM sleep is suppressed, say by heavy alcohol use or just days of really bad sleep, your brain actually tracks that deficit. The very moment it gets a chance, it aggressively collects its sleep debt by dramatically increasing the intensity and proportion of REM sleep. This is exactly why your first good night of sleep after deprivation or your first weeks of sobriety produce incredibly bizarre, intense, and often disturbing dreams. Your brain is essentially running its dream state in absolute overdrive just to catch up. But hey, there's a silver lining here. Phase 5, hacking the system. We've talked about all the glitches that happen to you, but there is one sleep glitch you might actually want to trigger on purpose: becoming totally conscious inside REM sleep. Around 55% of people report experiencing a lucid dream, where something just clicks and you realize, hey, I'm dreaming, while still inside the dream. This isn't some urban myth, it's a scientifically confirmed state proven by eye movement signals recorded on EEGs. The brain is simultaneously in REM sleep and totally aware of that fact. And the best part? It turns out you can actually hack your system to achieve this. You can do reality testing by repeatedly checking your hands during the day. You can use the wake back to bed method to enter REM directly. Or you can use the mild technique, which is setting a strict mental intention to recognize the dream state as you fall asleep. It's basically the ultimate feature hidden inside a bug. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. Every single night, your brain navigates a complex, highly precarious sequence of shutting down and booting up. Whether it's jolting you awake, trapping you in paralysis, or letting you hack the dream state, your subconscious is incredibly active. So, as you lay your head on the pillow tonight, ask yourself, which of these glitches is your own biological computer preparing to execute entirely without your permission? Sweet dreams, everyone.